Good morning. Thank you for tuning in again this morning, and as we look into the life of Jesus, as we continue this devotional, I just want to thank the Lord for another beautiful day. The sun's shining. We had a little rain yesterday. We had pretty dry here, and I'm just thankful that God's given us another day to live, another day that we get to share Jesus with the world. Wherever you're at today or whatever you're doing, include Jesus in it. The conversations that you have with people, especially, I know we go out and we're talking about things in the world. You know, we want to come up with all these ideas of how we can change things that in our community for the better. Present Jesus, and that's how it's going to change. Today we started Saturday. We're looking at the events from the calming of the storm to the feeding of the 5,000 in this time period, and maybe this will be this week, and maybe a little bit after the feeding of the 5,000. But Saturday we talked about the calming of the storm. Today we're going to look at when Jesus, after Jesus landed after calming the storm, he ran into this man that was possessed with many demons. You know, and the accounts in Matthew and Mark are a little bit different than the ones in Luke. You know what I like? You know, some people say, well, the Bible has a lot of inconsistencies and they don't match up. But you know, if you tell one person something and then they carry it to another person, and before you know it, the story's changed. These are three different individuals that are writing this. They didn't write it sitting there beside each other. They wrote it at some point in their life, and it's just it's amazing how the important stuff line up. The importance of Jesus and what he did is what all are the same. Now they may, Matthew and Mark, they include one. I think one of them says there was two men, but this one in Luke says there was one man. As I read the stories, I more lean towards the Luke's account of this event in Jesus' life, and we're going to begin in Luke chapter 8. In verse 26, Luke chapter 8, in verse 26. So they arrived at the country of the Gadareans, which is over against Galilee. And when he had went forth to land, there he met out of the city a certain man, which had devils a long time, and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. And when he saw Jesus, he cried and fell before him with a loud voice, "What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not." For he had commanded the unclean spirits to come out of the man, for often times it had caught him. And he was kept bound with chains and in fetters, and he brake the bonds, and he was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And he asked him, saying, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Legion," because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was a herd of swine, many swine, feeding on the mountain. And they besought him that he would suffer them to enter into them, and he suffered them. Then went the devils out of the man and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down the hill, down a steep place into a lake, and were choked. And when they that fed them saw what was done, they fled and went and told in the city and in the country. Then they came out to see what was done, and came to Jesus, and found the man out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at Jesus' feet, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They also, which saw it, told them that what means that he was possessed of the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadareans round about besought him to depart them, for they were taken with great fear. He went up into the ship and returned back again. Now the man out of whom the devils were departed besought him that he might be with him. And Jesus sent him away, saying, Return unto thine house show how great things God hath done unto thee. And he went away and published throughout the whole city how great things Jesus had done for him. And it came to pass that when Jesus returned, the people gladly received him, for they were all waiting for him. That's reading Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 40. And as we look at this scripture, there's a lot of things here today that I would like to bring out, if it's the Lord's will. And the first, we see that, again, I wanted us to get this mindset, right? That the disciples just came across the sea. They were in this storm. The storm, Jesus had fallen asleep. He wasn't worried about the things of this world. He was, Jesus, when he's present, there's peace, there's calmness. He was asleep in the bottom of the ship, and the disciples were worried that they were going to drown. They were fishermen. They had been on the ocean most of their life, and hear that this boat was filling up with water, and their master was asleep. And they woke up the master, and he calmed the storm. And it just amazed them. Who is this man that even the water and the wind and the sea obey him? You can only imagine, because we don't, remember, let's get the mindset of the disciples and what they're seeing here. They did not have the entire Bible to look at. They were living it. They were experiencing it. They were going through that very event at that time. So, I mean, you can only imagine what they were experiencing. So they get out on the ship, and they land the ship. They get out, and here's this naked man sitting before them, out of his mind, crazy. So crazy that the people had tried to tie him up in chains of the city. They have tried to do all the worldly things that they could do to control this man. But he was so out of his mind, possessed with these devils, that he lived in the tombs. He lived in the place where they buried dead people. I mean, you can only imagine what kind of life this man had had. I'm sure these devils drove this man into doing things that hurt himself, and drove him to doing things that were just we would consider just crazy. But nothing the people did worked. Nothing. That he just continued to be possessed with these devils, and he was living in the tombs. And he saw Jesus here when he landed. He went up to Jesus. Part of me has to believe that, I believe that this man had somewhat of a sound mind, but the devils controlled the majority of him. I believe that this man, he recognized that there was something about this man Jesus, and he went to him. And if you look in the other scriptures, the actual man that we're talking about here went to Jesus, but when he got there and he fell down, he said, "What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not." And this is here. He's speaking with the demons that was in the man here. For he had commanded the unclean spirits to come out of the man, for oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept in bonds and with chains and fetters, and he broke the bonds, and the devils drove him to the wilderness. And Jesus asked, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Legion," because many devils had entered into him. Now, the disciples just saw Jesus calm the storms. Now they're standing before this man named this man and this demon that was in this man, and even the demons recognized who Jesus was. They knew his power. When I think about this, I want to slow down here for just a second, because these demons that were in the man named Legion here, or this man that was crazy, that was living in the tombs, that the world had thought that there was no hope for. The world thought that there was no hope for this man because he was so out of his mind, and they tried to do all these worldly things and couldn't control him. But whenever the demons recognized who this man Jesus was, We go back and we look at the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness, when Satan tempted Jesus in the wilderness. And he asked him a question: if thou be the Son of God, if thou be the Son of God, turn this stone into bread. And he can tempt him with other things there. But Jesus said, Satan said to Jesus, if thou be the Son of God. You know, Satan is so conceited in himself. Satan is so conceited in his power that he didn't even recognize Jesus for who he was. But here we see that the demons here, they recognized who Jesus was. They recognized him, and they knew that he had power to cast them out. And that's what we need to do today. If you're listening and you've tried all these counselors, you've tried all these rehabs, you've went to this church and you've went to that church, and you've been baptized and you've said this prayer and you've done that or you've done this, and yet nothing has helped you. Nothing has helped you get out of that situation, or to get rid of your addiction, whatever it might be, or get rid of the sin that is in your life. We don't even have to call it an addiction, to get rid of the sin that's in your life. Because when you label things like addiction, people automatically shut off. Well, I'm not addicted. They shut off and quit listening. And I don't want you to do that today. I don't want you to let, just because I say the word addiction, or because I use this example of sin, the matter comes right down to it. It's sin. Sin is what we're trying to get rid of here. Sin was in this man. Sin is in every man and woman that has breath in their lungs, and they got to be set free from that sin that has been handed down to us since Adam and Eve were in the garden. And we see here that Jesus is the only one that can do that. You know, we try to look in all different avenues, but Jesus is the only way to get rid of that emptiness and that pain. Jesus is the only way that can cleanse you, and that can take away those things that you have issues with, and place peace in your heart. You know, this man is another perfect example of being in torment. He was troubled inside, and he wanted to be set free. And when Jesus spoke to the demon there, the demon told Jesus that, he said, look, don't cast me into the deep. Don't cast me into the outer darkness. Don't cast me back into hell. Even the demons do not want to go back to hell. Think about that today. We get to the point where it's like hell doesn't bother the lost. Hell doesn't, they don't fear it, because they're so calloused to sin in this world, and they're so, I'm not going to say brainwashed, but they're so distracted by things of this world that hell has no effect on them anymore. The fact that there is a place called hell that is created for the devil and his angels, and it's a place of perfect torment. It's a place that you will never exist being in torment. It's a place that people go that are unbelievers, that chose to ignore Jesus, that chose not to seek after him for salvation. It's a place that is so bad that not even the demons wanted to go back there. And as you think about this, the demons, they asked, well, there's a whole bunch of swine over here. And I believe it says somewhere that there was around 2,000 swine that were over here in this herd. And Jesus commanded them, in Matthew it says go. That's all he said was to them, go. Go. That's all Jesus has to say is go, and it's gone. Your problems, your issues, the things that you got going on, all Jesus has to say is go, and it's gone. Well, those demons left that man and went into the swine, and the swine realizes, see, animals don't have souls. Animals are created beings that do the only thing they can do, and that's what God created them to do. And they realized that there was something wrong. They were sick. They were, if you look at animals and how they're created, I know it might seem cruel, but even if an animal has birth a child, or a little animal, that's sick, a lot of times they'll eat that animal instead of letting it grow up and be die, or whatever the case might be. They know that there's something wrong, and they do only what God created them to do. These swine, they got up and ran into the sea because they knew that something was wrong with them. They knew that there was something going on. They ran into the sea, and it says they drowned. They ran off this cliff, and they all drowned. All 2,000 of them drowned because they weren't able to do what God created them to do. And the people that fed the sheep, the people that fed the lambs, they were shocked. They were shell shocked. They went back to the city telling about this man that they had seen all these years, and they were living in the tombs. He was naked. He was out of his mind, possessed. and now he was set free. And all these 2,000 swine, can you imagine the noise of these swine? You know, you heard of a swine whenever they get crazy. It's loud, extremely violent. I can imagine that what these swine, what it must have looked like for these people that fed these swine. It was a very violent and crazy scene there. I mean, here they were probably sitting over there under a shade tree somewhere. They had done fed the swine that day. They were just watching over them. And here comes, they're looking out over the sea, because they're not far from the sea, because that's where Jesus landed and the man met him. And they saw this crazy naked man. They probably sit up there and been laughing at this guy for years. That was their daily distraction, is watching this crazy man act all crazy over there by the tombs where they bury the dead people. And they know the history of this man, but here he runs up to this man. Here comes this new boat. And, you know, they're probably up there watching Jesus coming up on the sea there, and they're laughing and say, look at him. He's fixing to get a surprise. He's fixing to meet Legion. He's fixing to meet that crazy dude that lives in the tombs. And they were probably sitting up there laughing up on the hill. So as they're sitting there watching, they see all these things happening. And this man, he doesn't go up there and torment Jesus. He doesn't go up there and do what he might do to other people that land there in this spot. He come up there and he fell down at Jesus' feet, and Jesus freed him of those demons. And then all of a sudden these swine start screaming and hollering and going nuts and running and jumping off this cliff and drowning in the sea. Can you imagine the shock that they went through? You know, you might just been set free. You might live this violent life. You might live the life that most people would consider that was a hopeless. And you've been set free of this, and you're going back into your old life, and they're seeing a different you. They're seeing a you that has love. They're seeing a you that has a peace. They're seeing a you that's no longer affected to these things of the world, and it's going to scare them. It's going to make them back off a minute and say, who are you? I don't even know. You're not like the old person. And you got to realize that's just the way people are. They're scared of new things. They're scared of this freedom. They're scared of these things that Jesus can do. So when we go into the world, don't let that get you down. Don't let that distract you from continuing to live towards God. And so he got, and the people ran to the city, and they told all the people in this city what had happened. They came back out to see this man. He was clothed. He was in his right mind, and it blew their mind. It was just like, there's no way this is the same guy. Something crazy has happened here, and it scared them. So they asked Jesus to leave, and they may even ask you to leave once you start living a right life. And when they ask you to leave, I want you to realize that it's something that Jesus' love sometimes makes people uncomfortable. Jesus' peace sometimes makes people uncomfortable, because you're living in a world that doesn't have a peace, that they don't understand it. They don't understand the true power of the peace of God. So, but this man, you know what he did? He didn't let that deter him. He tried to follow after Jesus, but Jesus said, listen, I got a job for you. You go back to your family. You go back to your home, and you tell people what's done for you. So he went back, and he says he published. He told everybody. And you know what happened? They saw the difference in this man. This man had lived such a life that now they saw him in a sound mind. He had love and peace and a smile on his face. And it made a difference. It made a difference in their life, and he was able to go and be an influence to the people in his town. You can be an influence to the people in your family, in your town, in your community, but it's going to take a little time. You've got to keep living that life for God, and don't let the judgment of this world beat you down, because you have lived a life that has given them pause to think, whoa, wait, is this dude just pulling another crazy stunt like he's done before? Or is he being sincere? So don't let that hinder you. Don't let the things of this world and people's judgment hinder you to where you can't be influential to God, because he went and did what Jesus told him to do. He told him, and he published it throughout the whole city, what great things that Jesus had done unto him. So then Jesus came back, and it says that the people gladly received him, for they were all waiting for him. So you just go live for the Lord. You go do what God directs you. You go show that love. You go show that peace. You go show that what God has done for you, and you just let God handle the rest. And eventually they're going to see that there's something different in you than is in the world. So Jesus came back, and as we continue into this tomorrow, we're going to see what he was able to do. What he was able to do because that man had the courage to go and tell the city what Jesus had done for him. So today I ask you to not get discouraged, and if you are as this man was, and has tried all these other things to get rid of your issues, and nothing's worked. The world's tried to put fetters and chains and tried to beat you down and throw you in the tombs, and you feel like you're alone. You're never alone. Jesus can set you free with one word: go. That's all it is. He can set you free with one word. And I'm thankful today that He set me free. Many of you know my past and the things that I did in the past, and He set me free from those things. But the desire and the weakness of that flesh is still there. But what I have to do is trust in Him every day. As Paul says in the scriptures, that he dies daily. He crucifies his flesh daily. He doesn't get saved every day, but he gives over the will of this flesh. He gives over his free will to make choices on his own. He gives it over to God and lets God handle him and give him strength to face the things that he's going to face today. He can set you free from all these things, and it will shock the world when you start living a life that is for God. Don't get discouraged. You keep pushing on. You keep proclaiming the Word of God and publishing it throughout the whole world, and before you know it, the people, when Jesus comes on the scene, they'll be gladly to receive Him. I appreciate you listening today and being able to celebrate the life of Jesus with me today, this beautiful Monday morning. I'm going to go out today, and today's Monday. The people's going to be, it's just another Monday. You know what? It's another Monday. It's a great day. Another Monday that I get to go out and tell the world and show the world that Jesus lives here, and He's my strength, and He's the one that can change this world and set you free from all those things. Don't let this be just another Monday the world wants to show. Be it a Jesus Monday, a Monday that might set somebody free by just pointing them to Jesus and proclaiming His word. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for your prayers. Have a great day.